could possibly be the devil, and proceeded to send her death threats and do all of this crazy stuff. She couldn't go anywhere without bodyguards, man. It was just super sad, but doesn't surprise me because she is a female, that when you think about in the context of The Omen was already out, I think, at this time, and that little kid is the fucking, the devil, just the same way, and he never received that kind of backlash, but for some reason Linda Blair did. And I've always thought it was pretty sad because it's not even her doing all those the crazy shit that we see in the movie. Even the voiceover work is an older actress who I think Friedkin went to. He basically hired her to do the voiceover work because they were realizing that having Linda Blair say it in her like little kid voice, that it wasn't menacing enough, right? So then they brought in this older actress. Her name escapes me. Forgive me for that. Who was deeply at the time super religious and didn't want to do it. So Friedkin pretty much kind of convinces her to do it, and she says, all right, I'll do this for you, but I have to have two of my friends who are real priests come in and help me through all this fucked up stuff I have to say. So then she fucking, all she did was nonstop chain smoke and drink liquor for however long they recorded that dub for, and then she would go in and do her little bits and be, and when I'm talking about the dialogue, I'm talking about shit like, your mother sucks cocks in hell, curse. That's all that woman. And it's her, she's like intentionally manipulating her voice with all this stuff. And it's like right there, it's so goddamn impressive. But also, winding back to my point, is that Linda Blair, I feel like she got the brunt end of the force for this entire movie, and she really didn't really have a hand in it, as far as all the kind of more brutal elements of the storytelling, so it's pretty it's pretty sad. But I'm glad she's overcome it, and she has her kind of dog rescue. I think she rescues like pit bulls and helps them out, so it's pretty cool. I've met her in real life at Monsterpalooza a few years ago, and she's a sweet lady.
Look at Wes over here dropping names again. What about that? Let's talk about that. What is it? The angiography scene, or how do you say that word? Where the procedure they do on her?
Oh yeah, the shit. I know the people there are considered like radiologists, right?
Yeah, and they basically like put that thing into your
jugular,
your artery.
It's
an artery. But apparently, like a whole bunch of different doctors at the time, and still to this day, people say that that's one of the most realistic deceptions of like a medical procedure ever on film.
Well, like we said with the guy that ended up murdering somebody, all of those people were real life staff that were on shift working at that hospital that they shot that scene, and the crew had come to them and said like, hey, would you like to participate in this scene? And they all said yes. So you are looking at real physicians, essentially. So I think that has a lot to do with the kind of natural element that happens when you're watching the procedure done on screen. But yeah, when you watch it, it looks fluid. It looks seamless. It doesn't look like movie magic whatsoever. But it has to be, because that's really Linda Blair laying there in that scene. But yeah, it's fucking nuts.
Supposedly that's a scene that a lot of people like passed out in the theater and threw up throughout that scene was in that scene.
For me, I feel like that's like the quiet in the storm.
Yeah.
You know, for what's to come. That's like, oh, maybe, you know, maybe she just has like a brain aneurysm or something's affecting her and making her act weird like this. Like it's almost like a red herring where they're like, maybe, you know, it's not possession. Almost like them trying to say like, hey, maybe science can, you know, answer this for us, and then you realize that it's not. It's fucking Pazuzu, who is the subliminal messages that they use throughout this film for that demon alone are super unnerving, dude. And I love that opening that probably for most of the general public goes over a lot of people's heads. But we open in northern Iraq, right, with Father Karras. He's obviously an archaeologist, older guy who was on the search for something, and then, you know, and then as he's there's this kind of long take where he's walking through a real a live dig, and I also found out in my research that that's a real legitimate dig happening.
Oh shit!
In northern Iraq, where they are really digging up artifacts there. That happened to be going on at the time that that they were out there shooting, and they were able to capture that magic. So it's real. It's not like they're in fucking the Sahara Desert or something pretending to be in northern Iraq. They are there, and it's super authentic too, because the legend of Pazuzu, that demon, supposedly his origins are from that area. So when they're opening up with that, it's like right there, it's like, damn, you know, like people did their research, and that's so cool. But Pazuzu, man,
that scene where she stands up on the bed and you see his statue.
Yeah. I think that I had mentioned the director's cut a little earlier. I think that I could be wrong, but I don't think that that's in the theatrical cut. I think that's something they added in later. And then of course the that fucked up spider walk down the stairs, man.
It's crazy to think that they filmed that back then.
Yeah.
Like whenever, I think that was like something that was like one of the big, like, you've never seen that movie, like she walks down like as a spider. I'm like, what the fuck? What? It was like super. And then when we finally saw that extended cut, you're like, holy shit, like I can't believe they fucking pulled this off.
And it looks so good.
Yeah, it does. Going back to what you were saying about like how once it was knocked out of the number one spot in the box office, not just like horror, like it was the number one rated R movie, like the highest grossing rated R movie of all time until it knocked it off. That's insane.
Yeah.
With everything rated R it has ever come out, that was it for so long.
And I think it just boils down to this super original idea, you know, and that movies before then had never dared to, and I don't even think that Friedkin was really trying to create a horror movie, because it doesn't really feel like, at least to me, that its intentions are rooted in horror. It just ends up being that way. But mixing religion and Catholicism with horror it works so well, you know, because if you think about what the movie is really trying to do, it's pretty simple. It's pretty, you get to, you know, from point A to point B, and then we're done, you know. But it's the execution of it, the fucking that, what's it called, the something bells, but that jingle that plays, that's so iconic. When you
Is
hear,
there like tubular
bells, yeah.
Tubular bells, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. And, you know, and I know Friedkin was a super stickler about the music. I think the composer had like done all of the music for the film, and had asked William Friedkin to come in and hear it live, and he didn't like it. And he was pretty much straight up with them, like, "Yo, you're starting off too loud, and we're not going to have anywhere to build up to. I want something more ominous and quiet, and then as we get into the thick of things, then we're going to get into the power." And he had pretty much a falling out with the composer over that, and to which to this day, according to Friedkin, they never talked again.
Yeah.
And they were close friends. So it was, it's amazing to think about. This is still just a movie, and it's created for us, for fans, for people to consume. But there's so much politics that go into making just this one little project, and reputations change and things happen for better or for worse. But it's fascinating to think that all of these injuries and all of these things that happened, and and the fire and all this stuff it's happening, but it's all for the fans, at the end of the day. But it's incredible the lengths that a director and studios will go to, or at least at that time would go to create like just something for us. Entertainment, it's entertainment.
Going back to the music, it's crazy to think that they even had Bernard Herrmann who worked with Orson Welles and Hitchcock. I mean, that's Psycho.
Yes.
And I was reading I read different things where he said, they said that he saw like a rough cut of the movie and just passed on it. And then I was reading that in an interview, Bernard Herrmann basically said that Friedkin didn't want any organs in the music, because according to him, he didn't want any Catholic music in his picture. So I mean, obviously it worked out in the end, because that's like quintessential, right? Like that Tubular Bells is along with Psycho. You can't get the music from Psycho. You can't get any more iconic than that.
Yeah, it's just like it to me. It's 100% on a par with the John Carpenter Halloween. When you hear that, it's unmistakable. Like you picture in your brain. Even if you haven't, even for people who haven't seen The Exorcist, they're too afraid to or what have you. They hear that music and know what it means.
And that first scene, you hear it. She's the mother with
Chris
is walking through the town, and it's kind of like, it looks kind of fall-y. There's like wind, there's like leaves on the ground, and she's walking past people and like kind of people watching, and you just hear it come, that Tubular Bells come kind of like faintly in, and it kind of gets louder, and that's when oh fucking shit, what am I about to watch?
Yeah, it sets the mood without having to do anything, because she's literally she's getting to her destination, but it literally doesn't push the plot forward at all, but it sets you up for what's to come. Mm-hmm. I mean, and she even passes by these little kids in Halloween costumes, correct?
Yeah. Which
is foreshadowing pretty much what happens with the possession of her daughter, where it's this essentially a kid who is in disguise. Mm-hmm. She's not really a child anymore. So it's crazy, man. All these little details and layers to this.
Have you ever read the book?
No, I'm guilty of that. I have not read the book yet, but it is definitely on my to-do list.
Yeah, I've always wanted to read it.
I do know that we're spitting out tons and tons of facts right now, but how do you say, when William Friedkin was hired to do the movie, he was like, I want to he already had, or at least he says, he already